Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Ethan.
And I'm Rick.
And in today's Roster United, a board game podcast episode, it's going to be a fantastic one for you all. We have a couple of segments. The first one being United, which it's pretty self-explanatory there. And the second segment, there's an app for that. It's going to be very an exciting show. Just, again, getting into the segments, we have some interesting ideas, and this is going to be the first time you're going to hear about both of them. So first and foremost, United. In this segment, we talk about, well, obviously, the Marvel United franchise mechanism. And we have been playing Marvel United Multiverse now for the last couple of days. We've played a lot of matches, and we just want to really just dive in with the kind of stuff that we've played. First and foremost, the villains that we've played. We've been playing the core box as of late. Just so much content, am I right, with the core box? I mean...
Yeah, the core box, as usual's got, I think, 3 just straight-up villains and 1 purple, who can be a villain or a hero. And then, of course, you got like 5 or 6 heroes in that box, just right there in the core box for the Multiverse, Marvel Multiverse United that we're talking about here.
Absolutely. And, it's just something very unique about it, playing it, and we'll get into it and why it's like it. But every hero so far has felt very different, has felt very unique with the equipment cards and so on and so forth. Even the villains in this core box are very different from the others. So let's take a little deep dive, as you could say here, with the first villain we played against, Emperor Doom. Emperor Doom, and I'll read it for you just so we all have a little context of what he does. Many heroes have what's called special rules that make them even more unique than your ordinary basic sort of villain. So here's what Emperor Doom's special rules are. It says, place a Doombot with a crisis token on them. Doombots with a crisis token on them require 2 damage to be defeated. Doombots are treated as thugs for all game effects. When a Doombot is defeated, discard it and place a thug on the defeat thug's mission. When a hero is KO'd, Emperor Doom doesn't activate his BAM, instead add 1 of his bots to that hero's location. He wins. His villainous plot is that if heroes lose, if a Doombot can't be added to any locations. So he is going to constantly be playing from his master plan deck cards that are going to fill up locations with his Doombots, requiring not just 1 hit like a normal thug, but 2 hits to get rid of them. So they're going to be there in that location for a little bit. And the heroes win. It's actually very unique. There's 2 ways of doing it. You see, in Marvel United, you have 3 mission cards out there on the board. Defeat 9 thugs, rescue 9 civilians, or clear 4 threat cards. If you clear or defeat at least 2 of these missions, the villain is vulnerable, and you are able to attack him, trying to reduce his hit count to 0, and you win the game. And that's the same case for Emperor Doom, but there's also another thing you could try to do. You can try to defeat the Purple Man threat. Now, the Purple Man threat is very interesting. You actually have to defeat all 3 missions. And then Purple Man is eligible for being beaten. He has 3 health compared to Emperor Doom's 9 health for 2 players, 10 for 3, or 11 for 4 players. So that's a lot of symbols, that's a lot of hit symbols, really, for just 2 players. 9, that's a lot. And keep in mind, too, you're already attacking to get those thugs. So Emperor Doom is really tough. There's quite a bit of strategy to how you want to defeat him, depending on the kind of heroes you played. Personally, I thought Emperor Doom was really good. Just a really fun villain to play against. Very tough, I thought. For a core box, this villain can really give you a bit of frustration. Not because he's complicated, but simply he's really hard to master. He's really hard to defeat. Sometimes, again, you might get a good draw off the deck, right, of his master plan. You might get a bit of a rhythm. But most of the time, Emperor Doom is going to come out there and he's going to fill these locations with Doom bots, and it's just it. Honestly, it's crazy how good he is. I don't know. What's your opinions on him?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty nasty, really, the way it fills up and how quick it does. Like you said, trying to do the Purple Man versions almost
Yeah.
seems impossible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just that those Doom bots just fill up so quickly
Mm-hmm.
around the board, and they take the 2 damage to beat them, and
Yeah.
and that's the thing when it has that Crisis card that makes it so hard. And anytime he's got to add that Doom bot again, if he can't, you lose. So it's not there's no overflowing of that.
Yeah.
It's instant. So that is really, really tough. I mean, he is a
It really
really
is.
hard character, which is cool because
Mm-hmm.
that's how he should be.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's in the comics. The Emperor Doom that I think of is in Secret Wars, and he's pretty nasty in there, and how
Yeah.
much power he basically the power of a god, and this is pretty cool. I think I really enjoyed that piece of it. Now, the time that you played it, that I didn't get a chance to,
Mm-hmm.
what heroes did you use against him?
If I believe correctly, I had Mighty Thor and I had what's her name? Ironheart. Mighty Thor and Ironheart. Those two characters actually kind of played along a little bit together. Not the best characters, though, I will say, that are, I guess, the best sort of duo in the game. I like to play this game. If I'm playing it by myself, I like to play with two characters on the board. Um, and I don't know. I thought this could be great. Mighty Thor, for those who are big fans of the show, or I've been here since the beginning, you all know that I love Thor and Beta Ray Bill from the original core set, or from the original, excuse me, expansion sets. And those two characters were very similar, but Beta Ray Bill was just awesome. I mean, he could just give you an extra card and deal 2 damage however you'd like. Mighty Thor, though, is a little different. I think she might be better than Thor. Her stats are a little different. Stats meaning the total number of moves, hits, and heroics. Yes, we actually do get really in depth here in that part. And she's very different with that. I like her abilities as well. She has the teleportation, where she can move to any location and even bring along heroes to that location as well. She also has the energy redirection, where all heroes in your location cannot take any damage until the beginning of the next turn.
She also has that Millionaire card as well
Mm-hmm.
that basically gives you a move and lets you do 3 damage to an individual target. So
Yes.
she was really powerful. I found her to be pretty well balanced character, pretty powerful. She's got some heroics. She's got some mix of stuff too, where it's like a heroic and a move or a heroic and a hit, and like you said, those abilities jumping across the map. I thought she was a pretty powerful character in the sense that she really probably can go well with anybody.
Yeah. And, I really did feel that just like Mjolnir, just like Thor, really, has the exact same power of dealing 3 damage to a single target. So I thought that was really played out really well. Again, the Thor characters in the Marvel United franchise has been really great. Usually pretty flexible in what they're doing, both in his heroics and even moving. And I just like Mighty Thor more than Thor himself, just because she has a little bit more abilities, little different abilities, and she also has an equipment card as well that lets her basically place a Mjolnir card from her deck already to your hand, right? As if you're calling Mjolnir to you.
Yes.
So that is really, of course, really cool and thematic wise as well. I played as well with Ironheart, as I've said previously. Ironheart is also she's okay.
I'd say she's one of the weaker characters so far that I've played
Yes.
in the game.
Yeah, it's because
I mean, it's interesting. She depends. So a lot of her stuff, it's a lot of like heroics and moves, and a lot of her special abilities that come on the cards really depend on you having tokens. And the one match that I played with her, a lot of the locations gave out tokens.
Yeah.
but it just still never helped out. She just never really had enough oomph, at least in the boss that I played with her against. She kind of just had a little bit of everything, and it just seemed like she had a little bit of everything, and her powers never came to play for me.
Yeah, and, sometimes having a negative reaction sometimes with the character can also be with the kind of villain we play against, right?
Sure.
Or the setup of the location. But you are absolutely correct. She was really okay. Iron Man is a really big distributor with with the different kind of symbols. For example, Ironheart has Natalie, which is basically her robotic AI friend, kind of like Jarvis for Iron Man. She, when plating this ability, she can distribute one move and one hit token from the pool amongst heroes. Pretty basic, but can be effective. She also has two Tech Genius cards, abilities. It says this turn you may treat heroics as wilds or gain one heroic token. Now, this is a pretty good ability, but again, you can only use it. You can use it on the card that you have, because right underneath it there is a heroic on the exact same card as of it, and also treat the card before this was played, if it has any heroics only, though, and you can treat that as a wild as well. So it just depends.
Yeah, and to unlock her, then you have to play with another character that's very heroic minded,
Exactly.
in my opinion, right?
Yeah,
and then that just turns her from being heroic to being able to move or hit and do what the. So it kind of just locks her into playing with a certain character. And I think that's your point, too. Some characters are pretty flexible and do different things, whether through their powers or they're a one-trick pony. It just seemed like she's one of the, and some characters are good support characters. It's like, hey, I play good with a move character. I play good with a hit character. I can supplement anybody. She's probably a character that needs to be in a 3-team, maybe a little bit, because it's like the only way she really unlocks is if she's playing with a character who had a lot of heroics. At least that was my feel from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, she's very interesting character. Also, I mean, just looking at some of her stats here, I mean, she's not that bad. She has 4 total moves, 4 hits, 6 heroics, and 3 wilds. So herself, yes, she is heroic, but again, you can't play off of those symbols.
Yeah, but her powers are based off other heroics, and that's already what she has.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought she was, at least in the match I played, she was a little weaker. Maybe if she's in a 3-player match where she's got a heroic player and a hit player to balance what she doesn't have. Because what ended up happening was I just didn't have anything to play off of to really turn those heroics into wilds and adapt.
Yeah.
And so, or I needed the heroics anyway. So what was the point of the wild?
Yeah.
That's just what I felt in the one that I played with.
Yeah, and I just think she, again, just like you say, really, I do agree with you here. She's all right, but she does distribute pretty well. She can be at times an all-around character, but that's very unlikely unless if you play against a heroic character.
And that leads us to probably our next part of the segment here. I played with her against the next big bad that we're going to talk about.
The next villain we played against was Immortus. Now, Immortus is a very interesting character. Let's check out some of his special rules here for those who maybe don't remember, or even for us, a little refresh here as well. His special move is Heroes cannot damage Immortus. When a hero is KO'd, Immortus doesn't activate his BAM. Instead, draw a Master Plan card and add it face down in the storyline. So, you might be wondering, well, how do the heroes win if you can't hit Immortus, right? I mean, you just can't hit him. Well, there is a heroic goal for the heroes. The heroes win if they complete all 3 missions, which means, again, basically using 9 hit symbols, 9 heroic symbols, and 4 times 3, 12 more heroic symbols.
He is immortal.
As well. Yeah.
He is immortal. He really can't be beat.
That's a lot of symbols, really, for 2 characters, but we were somehow able to get the job done. Not on our first time, though. Our first time wasn't that
I
good.
blame Ironheart.
Yes, because basically, as you'll see,
there was a couple things at play there.
Yeah, Immortus has a lot of henchmen. The threat cards, there's 6 of them for every location on the board. Some of them are just normal stuff that can affect heroes, maybe, discarding a card or something like that. But then there is henchmen that deal damage to, characters or to heroes in that location or in adjacent or so on and so forth. Basically, Immortus has 5 out of the 6 threat cards to be henchmen. And these henchmen are no joke. They are really tough. I mean, they deal a lot of damage. You could get KO'd in one bam.
And they cover the board. So getting into that a little bit, you have like Silver Surfer, the way he works is once you unlock one of the threats, he then on a bam can move to any open spot going clockwise. And if you're there, he's dealing 2 damage.
Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Yondu, who's doing damage where he's at and the 2 adjacents.
Yes.
You've got Star Fox, who does the same thing, but when he bams, you can't hit him.
Yeah.
Then you've got Captain Marvel, who also damages all around her. And when you attack her, if you damage her more than one, she does 1 back to you.
And it's actually very interesting, too, because it's 2 damage to adjacent locations. That's exactly like her hero card ability, where she can deal 2 damage to an adjacent location. I just thought that was really cool thematically that they were playing on with their own
what it does. And then you got Annihilus, who has his own box that we haven't played yet. He's a henchman in this set, too. And he basically makes you block with a crisis token one of the symbols on your last card played.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do that. So those guys alone, and you got to beat 4 of them.
Yeah.
And those guys alone, they lock the board down, or you take a lot of hits. And then, of course, when you die, he plays another card to the master plan deck, to the master plan. So you're churning through his deck pretty quick.
It is. And what's even more interesting is that his BAM effect is that if he's on a location and there's a thug, at least 1 thug and 1 civilian, he discards them. He discards 1 thug and 1 civilian from his location.
And you need 9. And you need 9 of those suckers to beat him.
Exactly. So for each token discarded this way, he removes 1 token from the corresponding mission if it's still not completed. So basically, not only is he taking away more thugs and civilians for you to complete your mission, he's also taking away 1 thug and or 1 civilian from your actual mission that's already been, well, not completed, but that's already been beaten or saved. So he's taking away progression, and that's really a 2-way street right there with that ability. It is incredible, and it's a real challenge, really.
It really is.
It really is.
It's
almost a race, really, to finish.
It is a race. The only thing that kind of balances him a little bit, because the other thing, too, is he's bamming, he's not putting out more civilians. He's not putting out thugs every time he bams.
Yeah.
But he's got 1 card that saves you a little bit, depending, again, when it comes out. So one of his master plan cards, in essence, is when he does his thing, he doesn't bam. I think he bams. I think he does bam on it. And so you're getting hit and everything. But you take all your face-up cards in the timeline, shuffle them, and put them back in your deck. So it's like giving you your health back a little bit. And depending on when that comes out, if it comes out early in the game, well, you're not going to... If he comes out early in the game, you're not going to have anything to pull back into your deck.
Yeah.
But you're not getting hit that turn, maybe. But in our case, the one time, it did come out a little later in the game, and that definitely helped us out a little bit, made it a little easier.
Yeah, and there's only 1 of those cards in his deck. And it's, I mean, again, Marvel United, you might go burn through all of the Master Plan deck cards, but sometimes you don't, honestly. Sometimes you just, you go through 5 cards and you either defeat them or, you lose the game somehow with maybe a special rule or something. but there's only one of these cards. It's called officially. It's called messing with the timeline. He does bam. In fact, he
He
doesn't
does
move.
bam on it. Good,
He
yeah.
does not move, but he
But he
does bam,
bams.
and he even places 2 thugs and 2 civilians adjacently. So it's a really amazing card. We're fortunate that we got that, really, because we would have not made it. It gives you more options for your heroes to choose what to play, what you want to
Well,
play.
or just survive because he's beating up on you. But it also
Exactly.
depends a little bit, in our game that came out at the best time, really,
Yeah.
because not only was it a little later in the game, we got a lot of our cards back.
Mm-hmm.
We had defeated a lot of the henchmen by then, so when he bammed, it didn't really do much to us in
Mm-hmm.
that one. So that one really kind of came out at a good time. But he's a pretty difficult character because you have to do everything, and then of
Yeah.
course, you've got to get these cards beat,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, the minute you do that, now he's going every 2 turns instead of every third turn,
Yes, that's right.
or every fourth turn. He's going every 3 turns. So
Yeah.
it's really getting on you
Yeah,
really quick.
it really is, and honestly, we've had a lot of fun with just those two heroes, or excuse me, villains so far. We've played with a lot of the other heroes as well, such as Loki, and I believe you've played with Spider-Man.
I
Correct?
played with Spider-Man
2099.
2099, so the version from the future
Yeah, yeah,
that we had before.
mm-hmm.
Like most Spider-Man characters, he's a bit of a mover, but he does a lot of hitting himself.
Yes.
And he does a little bit where he can, reveal what's going on in the timeline. He's got a couple of extra wilds that I really enjoyed using for it. But he's kind of more of a well-rounded Spider-Man. He's not much as like just, hey, a sheer mover. He's got a little bit more balance, I'd say, to him. A lot more attack. Not as much heroic as I think some of the other Spider-Man characters. And you're more of an expert than I am there, but I believe Spider-Man was a little more heroic balance, probably a little more balanced character, and he kind of falls into that a little bit too. But his powers tend to come around stunning and hitting, and revealing that master plan decks. But I enjoyed playing with him a lot. He does have a starting hand, which is basically spinnerets. And again, as long as his cards face up in the storyline, if there are no move tokens, at the bottom of the last 2 cards in the storyline, you can get a free move, and it has a wild on it. So you get this thing out early. You get it on your first turn. It gives the next player a wild, and it's kind of got you a free move if you don't have one. So that's kind of cool. That way to balance out the lack of movement that he has for a spider character.
Absolutely. And it just makes sense too, right? I mean, he has that spider sense. So,
yeah.
Getting that extra wild is always something incredible. Most of the Spider-Man characters are pretty well-rounded, and that kind of suits the bill, really, for a Spider-Man character in the Marvel United. It really does its part.
I'd say he's a little more aggressive than most, but yeah, definitely there. You got a chance to play with Loki. He looked pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, Loki was.
And he had some equipment, I believe.
He did. He had his scepter, I believe.
His scepter,
yes, his scepter, and that was also very interesting as well. I'll get into that in a little bit here because really there is a lot to like about Loki. Loki has obviously every Marvel United character has the double wild card and a single wild card, which is just your standard 2 cards. Everyone has that. Loki adds another wild card and another single wild card. So basically he has a total of 5 wilds, which is fantastic. I'm always a big fan of that. He does really well. He's a very interesting character. He's got a little bit of everything, but he doesn't have much of one sort of aspect to it. Even well-rounded characters like Spider-Man, for example, he has a lot of heroics and whatnot, and Miles Morales has a lot of heroics, but at the same time their stats are very well-rounded. It's just there you can still tell there's a significant difference between his heroics and everything else. Loki's about the same here. I love his abilities here. I'll go through them a little bit. He has misleading, which has another wild symbol at the bottom. So that is 6 wilds. And his misleading ability says, next villain turn, when the master plan card is revealed, you decide which location the villain moves to, ignoring the movement instructions on the card. basically letting you move the villain wherever you seem fit. And remember, you follow the order of the actual card, so you can move him before he does his bam, basically. So that is also very effective on a cooperative game, but even in a team versus team game as well, putting the villain in a place where maybe it could affect the other players' characters and making them, get deal the damage. It's very interesting, the different strategy there as well, because remember, we're not just thinking two-dimensional cooperative now. With all of these sets and expansions, now it's 3D,
It's
three-dimensional.
four dimensions
Really,
actually. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really fun.
it's really
I
cool.
really enjoyed the set so far. I'm just surprised. And some of the boxes, I know we'll get into those as we kind of go through different seeds here. I'm just really excited about what's to come. I'm excited about trying Maestro out,
Yes.
which is basically an alternate evil version, a future version of the Hulk,
Hmm.
where he's super smart, like he's Bruce Banner, super smart, strong like the Hulk, but he's just bad. And
Yes.
he's one of the bad guys in this box, and I'm looking
Super
forward to
exciting.
that. One of the things I'm really looking forward to, I know we're going to get into, is these. This set had campaigns, which is just going to use items from the different sets. Really, talk about getting the juice. If you have the other Kickstarter sets, or if you've collected the Marvel Uniteds, I think you said the first one we were going to try out was the World War Hulk
Yes.
set. Is that right? You
Yes.
said it pulls from like 12 boxes of characters to be able to go through the whole campaign. It's crazy.
Yes.
I know we're
Yeah.
not going to get into it, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to keep the campaigns sort of hidden so everybody can experience that fun to themselves. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of events. You'll play a certain specific number of games. For example, World War Hulk has 4 games you can play, but depends on if you win, lose, or other type of scenarios. There is 9 events that
They're
can
like
happen.
replayable. I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's
basically.
interesting. That's so cool.
Yeah, like for example, and I can read the first game, because there's just special rules on it, nothing else that's part of that affects the story. For example, game one is you basically, there's a couple of different setups. There's a different a roster of selected characters you can only play with the campaign, and
That's
every
so
game
cool.
changes.
That's so cool.
It's really neat. For example, the first game is you have to use the PvP mode, Clash of Heroes, that is found on the Silver War expansion. Now that is pulling another box, basically. Then not only is it the PvP mode, but now you have to choose your selected heroes. You can't really choose in the first game. There is only 4 characters, and in Team Red, you have Gladiator Hulk and Korg, and you have on the blue team Thor and Valkyrie. Now, Thor and Valkyrie, wait a minute, are they from the original set? Yes, they are. So go upstairs and grab that box and come downstairs and unbox these characters again. And yeah, it was really kind of a cool moment going through those characters and stuff like that. And yeah, be careful with that one. Yeah, Valkyrie, ladies and gentlemen, I took out of the box, and somehow her feet that are supposed to be glued or inserted to her base popped out. I don't know how that happened. I'm very careful with these miniatures, and somehow that happened. I probably have to glue that back in. But yeah, that's a specific roster of characters. There's even a special setup where you have to take World Breaker Hulk's Rage card and place it within reach of the players, which is from the villain side of Gladiator Hulk, because Gladiator Hulk is an anti-hero. And this Rage card does some crazy stuff. We haven't played it quite just yet. We're setting it up. Literally, it's right in front of us. Uh,
Yeah, we just wanted to mention it
it's
on
just
the pod. I
really,
don't know if we need to get into that or not,
yeah.
but yeah,
But it was just
that's pretty cool.
really, really interesting. And at the campaign decks manual, you'll actually see a couple of the boxes you need to play these campaigns. For example, I won't read them all, but just as an example, the World War Hulk campaign, you need the Tales of Asgard expansion. You need the United promos. You need the Multiverse core box, Silver War expansion, World War Hulk expansion, Fantastic Four expansion, and a couple of others. You have the whole list there of boxes just so you can get it ready out there and you don't have to waste so much time opening boxes and things like that.
Yeah, I think we're pumped up about it. I didn't mean to divert us into that, but I was so excited to talk about it and just kind of give a little bit of appetite for what that's coming. So we'll definitely do a report, I'm sure, on
Oh,
that
absolutely.
in the future. So
Yes, absolutely. We'll fit time, I'm sure, to talk about our experience with this game because that's kind of the new thing, everyone is really excited about. Well, that is it for our United segment. Next, we have There's an App for That. Now, what is this segment about? Well, remember the really weird named segment that I named accidentally, Digital Board? That was pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie to you there. It wasn't that creative. But we basically go through and talk about a board game app and just talk about, is it worth the price? Is it easy? Is it fun to use? When you're playing it, does it really feel like the board game? And so on and so forth. So we're not that technical into it, but yes, we do want to give you a little depth into it. Is it worth it, basically?
yeah, we want to talk about some of our favorite digital board games here. I think we're going to focus on ones that we've enjoyed,
Yes.
at least to start.
Absolutely.
And the ones that probably stay, for me at least, I think it's important that they stay true to the board game.
Mm-hmm.
And how easy are they to use? How smooth is it? Do they add any features? Do they take anything away?
Mm-hmm.
And, what does it do well? And how do I feel playing it?
Absolutely. So let's dive in to Root, the digital board game. Now, Root, again, is made by Leader Games. Cole Weirdly made it. Shout out to Cole Weirdly because he is an amazing, amazing designer. We love his designs, obviously, Arcs and Root. And Root is the digital board game is made by Direwolf Digital, who's also made tremendous board games digitally. And I know, digitally has said a lot around
digital board games digitally.
Absolutely.
And they're digitized and they're electronic.
Absolutely. You can find it in any of your phones digitally.
It's an app.
Absolutely. It's an app. And the game Root is actually, you have to purchase it. You have to buy it. I believe it's $9.99 on your first purchase for it. The game does include some expansions as well. For example,
I think it's the ability to purchase expansions. It doesn't come with expansions, if I remember.
No, it does not come with expansions.
Just to clarify that piece, it does have some of the expansions in Root are available to sell.
Absolutely.
And for this segment, since it's our first time talking about it, we're not going to delve deep into like a rules overview or anything of the actual board game. We assume if you're listening to this, you're interested in that, and you know a little bit about what Root is. But obviously with Root, you have your asynchronous factions, the cats and the birds and the Woodland Alliance and the Vagabond is in the first one. And then when Ethan mentions, the expansions, the first one, I think the Riverfolk expansion and maybe the Lizard Cult is included with that, I believe.
Yeah, they're both into, they're in the expansion together. The Clockwork expansion as well as the Exiles expansion as well. That includes, I believe, more cards that are added to the game. They've also recently, I believe, added the Corvid expansion, and they've added the moles to the game as well.
Too.
So it's very exciting. Root, by the way, the physical version of the game has a lot of expansions.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, we need to do a segment. I know it's an older game; it's been out a while, but the new segment, the new Kickstarter for the newest expansions coming out.
Yes,
maybe we should crack that up as an opportunity to talk through that.
Absolutely,
I think that would be a great segment in the future too. Is just news about new Kickstarters that we're excited about as well.
Yes, actually, that will be a segment we will be talking about.
All right, well, you're the producer, man, so
there you go.
That's on you, baby.
That'll be exciting. But yeah, Root has a lot of expansions, and they're just now adding all of that. But why does it take so long to get these expansions in? Well, it's because when you're playing Root, digital version, most of the time you can play with online players. It's very fun and exciting, but sometimes you play by yourself. And you might be thinking, well, board games, AI, you might find a certain rhythm with how the AI plays, and you'll find a way to win every single time. Well, not exactly. Root, by the way, has one of the best AI in a board game right now. I mean, we've played and we have a lot of digital board games out there, and Root by far is the best one. The AI, the computer that you're playing up against just does a really great job of, depending on its difficulty, to really make it hard for you to score those points. And really, you have to score at least 30 points. For one, it might be easy, but the AI does such a good job in trying to slow you down and even getting himself some points too. I've lost to the AI so
Yeah.
many times, and it's not because I'm a bad player. I actually think I'm pretty decent at the game, but again, that's just me talking. But the AI does just a great job, I think, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think the AI is a fantastic opponent. It plays really well.
Mm-hmm.
It understands the differences of the different factions that I've played against, at least. The version so far that we have is they just came out with the Corvids and the Mold and Underworld expansion. We haven't purchased that yet, but I really want to get into it. But yeah, it knows how to play each faction really well and leverage them. To give an example, one faction I enjoyed trying to play just because they're so different is the Riverfolk expansion, because what's so great about Root is that sometimes you got a straight up faction like the Cats. They're just running around trying to own things. The Birds are different in how they play. The Riverfolk though, they're trying to sell services. They're selling themselves as mercenaries, or they're selling the ability for them to travel through the water. They're selling that, and you'll notice that, the AI is using your services, and you start raising the price on them and they use it. But then as you get closer to win and start making a lead, they cut you off pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoyed that piece of it. As far as the AI, agree with the difficulty. Absolutely. You can purchase the Clockwork expansion, which if that is a different way to play in the board game version, like the physical version. The Clockwork is just a different way if you want to play Root by yourself.
Yeah.
So this mimics that. So again, if you just want to practice and play, it's kind of cool that they're adding something that you're like, well, why would you add that Clockwork expansion? I already have an AI in the game. This is if you just want to experience that Clockwork, or maybe learn how the Clockwork expansion plays and works, you can do that.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I like about the expansions is a little bit in there too. They've added some of the other maps that have come with some of the other expansions too. So the winter map has come, is in the game as well. If you have that map is very cool. It changes some of the paths. There's not as much there. So really pretty cool additions to the game.
Yeah, and there's even the expansion of adding more vagabonds. Vagabonds are basically a solitary sort of a factor. Kind of like a not a bounty hunter, but something within that range where he tries to kind of form an alliance with everybody, but he tries to form an alliance with the person that is winning and tries to help them actually win if he wants to. It's really hard to play against the Vagabond. He's going around doing missions, doing different things, and he can help or just absolutely destroy your plans and that sort of stuff. Every Vagabond has their own different sort of setup, like the Tinker or the Thief, for example. And you can buy the Vagabond pack that comes with like 10 more Vagabonds or whatever. And plus it adds in the main screen those Vagabonds, what's it called? The music, because when you start the game, you have the Vagabonds that have that music, and it's really cool. The music goes perfect with the world.
Is so good in this game.
It really
it's just
does.
Part of the digital implementation.
And when you buy the game, it has the 3, I believe, Vagabonds, but when you buy the Vagabond expansion, it comes with like the other 7, and they're all playing a certain instrument or whatever. It's just a cool little thing there. Just something small, but so effective with it, too.
I could just listen to that.
Exactly.
It's just listen to it. It's so fun.
It really is.
Another thing I think that the digital version adds, and just, again, getting into, again, I want, first and foremost, I want the app to play like the board game. That's what I want. Yes. I want it to be the rules. I want it to be the aesthetic. The UI in it, the interface is fantastic. I think it's easy to navigate. It's easy to pull up. It's easy to see where they're at. probably the only tricky thing, and this is not unique to all digital board games, and I don't know how you feel about it. Sometimes, just like all of them, because you're not looking at a physical board with pieces on it,
Mm-hmm.
you got to do a little bit of work to kind of see on it. It's hard on a phone. Definitely on a tablet, it's better, but it's still a little harder
Yeah.
to know where everybody's at. You've got to really focus and look a little bit, or
Yeah.
you have the ability to zoom in and really see, but you got to zoom in space to space to kind of do that. But that's all any dude on a map digital board game. The one thing I do like that this added, though, that's pretty cool, or it does add some things that you could try to copy in the board game, but it's the challenges that are in the game.
Yes.
So
right.
There's certain challenges just to give you a different way to try to win and play Root. So, for example, you got your normal challenge, beat the game on normal, beat the game on easy, but there's a challenge of, like, for example, pacifist. So you've got to win the game where you do not initiate any battles at all. And that's how you get that achievement, that challenge. And it's not like you go along and it's achievement, you did it. You've got to select that as a game and start the game that way.
Yes.
Certain of them have, like, where you're in a different base and you start as a base and got to expand out, or you can only win as a coalition, or you can only win as a dominance victory, and you're given that dominance card at the beginning of the game. So that's pretty sweet.
It is. They do such a great job
so
with
good.
that. And honestly, a little point back then about the interface of the map. One thing I guess that you could kind of contradict that, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know what your opinion is on it.
No, because it's true. When you play the game, it does go from clearing to clearing, or that circle to circle, basically, of the areas of the map. But if you zoom all the way out and you keep zooming, eventually you'll see birds, cats, your different factions in a different sort of animation with a big number on it, to basically how many there are in that clearing. And that is actually a lot better than playing with the actual, where you can actually see the characters walking and the animation of that, because it is kind of hard and confusing to kind of keep that all track. If you zoom all the way out, you can see the entire map and choose the characters and stuff. Every time I play it, as much as I love the animation, I just love how that interface, when you zoom all the way out, as far as
practical.
you can.
It's more practical.
You can see
you lose a little of the charm of the guys moving around, but you're
Absolutely.
right. It is more practical to play. But if
you do, if you do want to play it, and you just want to take a look at everything, because that's kind of like what I like to do on big sort of war games, is literally act like as if I was a general. I mean, I stand up, I kind of look around.
Do you
and
pace with your
everything.
hands behind your back?
Absolutely. I have
shout
like a
orders
ruler
at the screen.
Exactly. I have a ruler, and I just push the guys, to the next area with the ruler and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm very deep into that stuff. But Root does such a great job, and like you said, it does feel like the real board game, and it feels honestly just so good playing it. And it's not. I mean, I'm not going to replace it for the physical version. But it just does a great feel. You feel like you're playing in a forest. You feel like you're really trying to get to 30 points, and you're fighting against other factions. The music, again, is perfect. Even the little sound effects of when you're crafting a card, it actually feels like if a hammer was hitting metal, like if you were forging something. And just some of the animations with the actual animals themselves, like the birds, you hear like a little bird song, a little, like a whistle sort of thing. For the cats, the same thing for them, and so on and so forth. They just did such a beautiful job really with it, and it's probably my favorite digital board game there is out there. I really enjoy it, and there's many others as well, and hopefully if you like this segment, we can keep talking more about it. Of course, we're only going to get better and better the more we do these segments and so on and so forth, so it's going to be really exciting. But there is a lot of games like that on your phones, on your tablets, that you can get. Root, by far, is the best one to get, in my opinion. I love the online play, very easy. Even if you don't want to play with other players, setting up a match for you and your friends using a little private code, super easy to set it up. It's super easy to get into a game and start playing it. I really enjoy that. I love the tutorials as well for the different factions. Obviously, you and me, right, just two players, we don't get the chance to play with all of the factions out there, because Root is it's made like that. It's made for you to play with your specific count And if there's factions that don't work out for your player count, well, so be it. But the digital version lets you expand that a lot. So we've played with the Lizard Cult, the River Folk, like you said, and I've had so much fun with both of those factions, and of course with the Woodland Lions and Vagabond. Just expanding that sort of gameplay, making me basically appreciate and love Root even more. It's just such a well done job there by Direwolf Digital, who's of course, in my opinion, probably the best company out there that makes those digital board games. Very, very fun indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone through 2 segments here. What a lovely time we've had. I hope you've had a lovely time here listening here at Roster United. Obviously, we had the United segment. We went through, talked about some of our experience, characters, heroes, villains, so much to love, and really we're so anticipated to play the campaign, World War Hulk. Tell us your opinion as well. What are you playing? What are you doing in your Marvel United sort of gaming routine sort of thing? Also, digital board game. We just talked about. There's an app for that. Our brand new, or at least we should say, our recently brand new renaming of that segment. And we're super excited. It's a cool segment, I think. It's a very informative segment, and I hope you guys take a look at Root. I really do think it'd be very fun. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we close out today's episode, again, I'd like to just give you a couple of reminders to please like and follow the podcast. Give us out of a 5. Tell us how well our podcast is. Give it a 5 if you like it. I'm just saying. You could also subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any new episodes. We are also on Blue Sky as well at Roster United Podcast. And we're there. We post a lot of awesome images and pictures and quotes and, just our opinions. And we post it out there for all of you to see. And if you're there, follow us back. Give us a comment. Tell us what you think about some of our matches, for example, of Marvel United. We post a lot of that lately. Tell us what you think. We're so happy to get your opinion on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here today. As always, I am your host, Ethan.
And I am Rick.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Good night. Adios.